Welcome to the Starcast Mark Studios. My name is Ryan, and along with Chris, we are the official Dallas Stars podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network, brought to you by DraftKings. Hey Christian, how you doing tonight? Doing okay?
Very official. I'm doing very well. The Aggies won on Saturday. They beat the crud out of Kent State.
It's
And we're
Kent
now.
State. They should be expected to beat Kent State.
Well, we still did it, and
But
we're
it
now.
was close at halftime.
It wasn't close at the end of the game. We're now the number 5 ranked team in the nation in both polls, the AP poll and the coaches poll. The college football playoff poll's not out yet. But while Aggie football season is going on, expect continued updates on them from me.
Yep, every week.
Yep.
So let me ask you, okay, and I want you to say this as unbiasedly as you possibly can, okay?
All right.
Which I know is going to be really hard for you, okay? Does A&M make the CFP at the end of the season? Do they
Well-
make the CFP?
It all comes down to one game, like every SEC schedule does. It all comes down to Bama. We have to beat Bama. If we are a one-loss team and the losses to Bama, I don't think we can get in just because the rest of our schedule isn't strong enough.
Really?
to
So
push
what
us
about
past.
Georgia? Do you play Georgia at all?
We don't play Georgia. They're in the other
So-
conference.
Okay, so Georgia is a
Other
big
division.
Yeah, other division in the SEC, whatever.
Yeah.
But
other than that, LSU's not good right now. Ole Miss is okay. If they get better,
What about
maybe
Mississippi
we could
State?
get in. Mississippi State's not good.
Mizzou?
Mizzou's terrible. Mizzou's always
Yeah.
terrible. That was a terrible question. But anyway,
I don't know SEC, sorry.
the Aggies are kind of in the same kind of situation that Dallas is, weirdly. Like, their most important position is the biggest question mark. So, like, we have a redshirt freshman quarterback, Haynes King. He was okay last game, but he threw 3 interceptions.
Oh.
Only one of them was his fault. The other 2 were tipped. But it's kind of weird how...
Well, still, if a ball is tipped like that, that means that it was probably not really catchable, right? I would assume.
No, one of them was tipped by a guy running a wrong route, and the other one was tipped by a lineman, which is just fluky.
Okay.
But
Well, either way.
he was okay, but it's weird that both of my teams have giant wild cards in the 2 most important positions in their respective sports. It's really
That's
weird.
really funny. That is very ironic. And we've got, speaking of the Stars and speaking of football, Cowboys play this Thursday, I think, right? They play tomorrow?
They play tomorrow.
They play
against
tomorrow.
the Bucks. If we lose against the Bucks, I'm gonna stop knowing when the games are, though. So
Right. Yeah. So at the time we're recording this is a Wednesday night. So most people are probably hearing this on, Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, something like that. So will you be watching?
I will definitely be watching.
I think I will be watching as well. So we'll see how the Cowboys do. And
If they lose, I'm a big fair weather Cowboys fan.
yeah, I am
So,
too. I am too.
I will immediately stop watching probably because I don't want to. Because the next week is San Diego. I don't want to watch San Diego.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not San Diego anymore.
No,
is it?
Los
It's
Angeles.
LA.
Yeah, they're LA now.
Gross.
They moved up the coast a little bit. So, anyways, yeah, sports are more sports are starting to come back. I'm excited. It's really truly happening, and
We finally don't have to watch terrible Rangers baseball.
oh my god. Well, speaking on that, just real quick
No.
before it seems like every time that I'm on Twitter, something really good is going on with the Rangers. And maybe that's just because they're posting the positive stuff and not so much the negative stuff. But wasn't there some pitcher that did really well recently? And
They play every day. Something's bound good to happen when you play that
well,
much.
I mean, what
They're
I mean
already
is
out of the playoffs. Who cares?
right, but like it was like some young pitcher dude or something. He had like a bunch of no-hitter innings or something like that
He's
in
had
the
like
past 3
multiple
games.
good starts in a row, and it's weird because he just got brought up and stuff. But like,
Right.
who cares? They suck.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate.
Tell me
'cause-
about it in 3 years.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, I just want the Rangers to do well. I just want all the FW sports to do well, including, and I want Houston sports to do well too, even though Houstonians refuse to root for Dallas area teams. It doesn't even matter. Whatever it is, they're always going to be against those teams.
Now that I live in an area that's half and half, screw Houston.
All right. Okay, Chris. Let's get into the actual stuff that we were wanting to talk about tonight. Anyways, we have got I mean, there's always a bunch of news, when we don't do an episode for a week. But we're just
That's
gonna
why we
highlight
don't
a
do them for
couple.
a week.
So, and then we'll talk a little bit. We've kind of already talked about it a little bit, but it's been official now that the NHL did come to an agreement with the IOC and with the IIHF to where it will be sending NHL players to the Olympics, barring some crazy thing happens. There is some sort of clause that the NHL can opt out of it if a bunch of teams go under with COVID or whatever. So, but anyways, that seems to be that's a done deal, an official done deal. We'll kind of look at some stars players who might make the Olympic teams. It's not likely, but we'll see. And then the big question for tonight and the big focus for tonight is going to be the NHL.com article that came out where they do this for every NHL team, but it's 5 questions facing the Dallas Stars. And we're going to take
Very
a
good
gander.
questions, in my opinion.
Yes, and especially the last one. I didn't really think about the last one, but the last one's really good too. And then we've actually got quite a few social media questions that we're going to answer here, and then we'll close it out with our Who Cares segment. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get started with just the first little bit of news. This is not a huge deal, but I'm kind of confused as to why this happened. The NWHL completely rebranded, and now they are called the Premier Hockey Federation. The Premier Hockey Federation. I have no idea. I didn't look too much into this, but it doesn't make a ton of sense to me other than they just want to be more inclusive, I guess. Thoughts?
I kind
Anything?
of like it. I mean, I think whenever you make another league that's the women's pro league version of the already men's league, when you just put W in there somewhere, it looks kind of dumb. Like WNBA in WHL. It's like, come on. So this is making it its own thing. Premier Hockey Federation. I like it. I'll take it. PHF sounds good.
It does. I like it. The BHF
But
does sound cool.
The main thing, so I know this wasn't even a topic, and I didn't even talk to you about this before it started, but
Yeah, go for it.
if the Premier Hockey Federation can do the same kind of thing that the WNBA does, where they play in the hockey off season, that would be way cool. I think I would watch a lot more Premier Hockey Federation games.
Well, the only problem is that the only place that I've seen hockey is for free on Twitch, which I watched that, and I'm specifically talking women's hockey. And then, I mean, like, even the gold medal game between Canada and the U.S. this past week, which Canada won in overtime, unfortunately, a 3-on-3. I would have loved to watch it. It would have been fun. You can go watch it on YouTube for free. But it was only on NHL Network. I mean, nowhere else, carried it. I mean, ESPN, NBC Sports, anything. Nothing carried it. It was just the NHL Network.
It's not going to bring a lot of outside audience attention, but like that's why you would put it in the off season of the hockey season.
Which is what they
Because-
did this year. Because originally it was
Yeah.
not. It was originally in April, and then they canceled it
Well,
and moved it
that's-
to Calgary.
That's the World Cup tournament, though. I'm talking about the actual Premier Hockey Federation.
Okay,
Not the World Cup stuff.
Right.
But because if you put it during that off season, then hockey fans I would watch that
I would
during
too.
the
I
dog
would,
days
I
of
would love it.
summer. Like
hmm
that's a great time to watch it.
So the only other thing I would love to see with women's hockey is they just need a little bit of help getting promoted. I think is more than anything. But the issue behind all of this is the fight between the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association, the PWHPA, I think is what it is, and then the NWHL, which is now the PHF. So they both want they both have different views on how women's hockey should be going forward, and the NHL is like, what are we supposed to do? Choose a side? They don't want to choose a side because they want to help out, but they can't because there's two different conflicting viewpoints. So I think maybe this what I've read is that this PHF move might be to allow some kind of resurgence between the two groups. I don't know. I just hope that sooner rather than later that both of these groups come back together and actually you know, I don't know, make a women's hockey league, and then the NHL can get behind it, and then maybe they can get some promotional material out of it. I don't know. We'll see. So, okay. Anyways, this was another thing that I saw on Twitter that was interesting, and it's causing some backlash from both sides of the aisle, whether you're an anti-vaxxer or a vaxxer. Is that a word?
I don't know.
Pro-vaxxer? Whatever.
I don't know the words.
But, yeah, whatever. The NHL has released their COVID protocols for this season, and here's what we know so far. So the players will not be paid if an unvaccinated player gets sick, and 50% of the costs associated will be charged to the player's share of the HRR. So you don't need to know what the HRR is, basically. But what this is basically saying is that if an unvaccinated player catches COVID, they're not going to be paid while they're sick. So this is a ploy to try to get the NHL PA and to push the players to get vaccinated, which honestly that's a good thing. But what's your thoughts on that? You have any thoughts on that? Really, it's kind of whatever.
That's fine. I mean, it's their choice to choose to put that incentive on players to get vaccinated. I think getting vaccinated is a great idea.
Yep. I have been vaccinated. That second shot sucked. The first shot was fine. My arm was just sore, but the second shot was really bad. I think I got the Moderna. No, I got the Pfizer. I got the Pfizer vaccine. So, okay. Anyways, enough of that on that. Jake Virtanen, formerly of the Vancouver Canucks. Obviously we know about what's been going on with him in the past couple years or so. He scored 17 or 19 goals, I think, like 2 years ago, and he also had the off-ice stuff with I think it was sexual misconduct or sexual assault or something of that nature, and he is not signing a contract in the NHL. He is on his way to the KHL, and he signed a 1-year contract there. So, I kind of mentioned this on Twitter that at least he's getting to play, for his sake. But and I kind of mentioned this as well to somebody, and I was just like, he's not getting paid a bunch of money to play over there in the KHL, but he's still making hundreds of thousands of dollars. So he may not be making millions like he would in the NHL, but a lot of people are still upset that he even got a contract at all. So, thoughts?
Anything goes in Russia.
Yeah, that's true. What was their whole thing with COVID when COVID was going through their season? They were just, oh, whatever, figure it out. They didn't stop their season or anything. There was like players from like 2 leagues below the KHL that were playing on the KHL teams, and
bro, I didn't even know that.
I mean, it was, and some of these games were like, I remember like 15-1. I know it's the KHL because the teams are kind of sort of unbalanced and everything, but still, it's like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I don't even watch the KHL. Garbage league. They're bad.
I watched some KHL, not a ton. I think I've seen like 2 games since they started the season, and that's about it. And I mean, the season is very young. So, all right, here's a big news that came out this past today. Actually, today it came out today. This past today. Sidney Crosby is out for 6 weeks, and he's out for 6 weeks due to a wrist injury. How does this affect the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I mean, it's not going to be good for the start of their season, but they're still the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're still a very good team. He's going to come back. It's not a shortened season, so they're going to make the playoffs still. In the grand scheme of things, it's going to be fine, but they'll be a little scared at the beginning of the season.
Right, so when he comes back, is his injury going to affect him points-wise? I mean, obviously his points are going to be less just because he's going to miss games, but let's say his PPG, his points per game, will it be lower or will it be about the same? What do you think?
I mean, it might be a little lower just because he's getting older, but
But he's still shown over the past several years that he's one of the best players in the league. I wouldn't say he's the best player now because I believe that belongs to Connor McDavid, but he's still in the top 5, definitely in the top 10 for sure.
But one of these years, him and Ovi are just gonna drop off. Like it might be this year, so it's gotta happen sometime, right?
I would think so. I really hope for Ovi's sake. I'm rooting for the guy. I want to see him beat Gretzky's record. I want to see it so bad. I forgot who Chris's windscreen for his microphone is not really working very well. It's definitely doable for him. It really is. I think he can do it. You don't think so at all?
His goal record or his point record?
His goal record. And there's no way he's going to catch points. Not a chance. But the goal record, I definitely think he could. And definitely
I still don't think so.
And if he's anybody like a Yager or like a Chris Chelios or someone like that plays until they're like 50 or something, he could definitely do it. And, I mean, he could even just get like 15 goals per season and be able to beat the record.
In today's NHL, I don't know if you can get 15 goals each year when you're in your 40s, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. But anyway, back to Crosby. Those two guys, those poor guys, they're always in the same conversation every time we have a conversation about one of them. So anyway, that's really going to hurt the Pittsburgh Penguins to start the season. We'll see how much that affects them. I think they'll be okay because, again, they've got Evgeny Malkin. And someone else is going to have to step up in that second center spot for them. So, however, that's not the biggest news of the week. Normally, that would probably be the biggest news of the week. But, obviously, the biggest news of the week is that Montreal did not match the offer sheet to keep Jesperi Kotkaniemi in Montreal. So, now Kotkaniemi, a 21-year-old, is a member of the Carolina Hurricanes. So, going the other way, Carolina gave Montreal a first and a third-round pick. What do you think, Chris? Thoughts on that?
Yep, it was the right move by Montreal. It's a good move by Carolina, too, because they steal the guy, and they're most likely going to re-sign him this year, too. So they have a really good guy that has a lot of upside, who's really young, who's going to make a difference right now, too. So I think I don't know, but either way, Carolina's had a really weird offseason. So they've signed a lot of players that have been good signings, like the Kotkaniemi signing. I think that's good. And then they've let players go that make no sense, like their young goalie.
All three goaltenders are gone.
Yeah, all three goaltenders
are gone. And then they signed 2 brand new ones out of nowhere, and it's like,
yeah,
I don't. You're right. You're right. At least with the Stars, it was sort of kind of predictable because Nil wasn't going to make any giant signings.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, I don't know.
Except for the Holtby thing, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Questions. Okay, so the main reason why I believe he even was offered $6 million is just because of where he was drafted in 2018. He was drafted 3rd overall in the first round in 2018. So there's a lot of upside. No, excuse me, hiccups. There's a lot of upside to Kotkaniemi. But this is a guy who he played all 56 games last season. 5 goals, 15 assists for 20 points, and that's it. That doesn't sound like a $6 million guy. Now, obviously, they had to overpay him to make sure that Montreal wouldn't match it.
That's the big thing, in my opinion. They need to make sure that they're stealing the guy, because that's what you're doing when you're signing an RFA. You're stealing the guy from the other team.
Right.
So, and then that's what it cost to get him. And now Kotkaniemi knows that Carolina is really sold on him. They really want him to play for them, and he'll sign an offer for them probably this season. Like I said, it'll be way less than 6 because even he knows that 6 is too much. Like, he knows he's not worth that right now. But
can you imagine getting that offer sheet?
First
off, the amount of money. First, the amount of money, and then the fact that there's a $20 signing bonus, and you know exactly what's going on.
I don't care what kind of signing
Oh
bonus
man,
is on
it
it.
was awesome. It
It's
was
already got
hilarious.
$6 million written
Yeah,
on it. So
6.1, even over 6 million.
yeah.
So, so a lot of questions surrounding Kotkaniemi is what he's going to be able to do with the Carolina Hurricanes this upcoming season. So, the big issue with that a lot of Montreal Canadian fans had with him is the fact that he had him play the center role. Ducharme and whoever else was the coach at the time. He played the center role as a really young guy. And, the center role is a very prominent, very important position. They have much more responsibilities than a winger. And normally what happens is that with a young guy like that, you throw him on the wing and allow him to kind of, feel his way into the NHL, give him less responsibility. And then when you think he's ready, then move him to the center slot. And it's already been mentioned that by Don Waddell that he will be playing on the left wing side. I mean, there's no way that he's playing in the center spot in Carolina because, I mean, you got Sebastian Aho, you got Vincent Trocheck, and you've got Jordan Stahl. And Jordan Stahl on that third line, he's going to be playing with a lot of really, really good forwards. So let's just say that he plays on the second line. How many points does he get? How many goals does he get? What's the expectation for him? Any idea?
I mean, if he can get 15 or 20 goals, that's a really great season for him. I mean, you don't expect too much, and he's going to be signed to be a second line kind of guy. But his big upside is he's only 21, and he was already a big part of Montreal, and it's a really high risk, high reward play. So I think it's a great risk. I think he's a really good guy. I think he's going to develop into something good, and I think he showed that last year. That it's not an if thing really anymore. It's kind of when and how much. So he's gonna be a top 6 guy. It's just where in the 6 is he gonna be, and how good exactly can he get, and that's up to him.
Right, and I think you said the key word. He's 21. So I mean, he even though he's been in the league for 3 years now, it seems like he's a lot older than that. And on the defensive side of the puck, working in a defensive structure team as Montreal was, I mean, he's probably already got that side of the puck down, the defensive side as a defensive forward. So we'll see.
Exactly. So he's already a good player now, and he's only 21, and he's shown that he can get better, which is why he's worth stealing for $6 million.
Right, and obviously Carolina agrees with that situation. And plus, I mean, can you imagine having him play with Sebastian Aho and Svechnikov or Teravainen, either one of those guys on the right wing side? That's a pretty good first line. Kotkaniemi, Sebastian Aho, and then either Teravainen or Svechnikov. So
I'd take it.
That's scary. That's a really, really scary, young, and very fast line. So we'll see what Kotkaniemi does in Carolina, and good luck to him as he makes a change there to that city. So the other thing, let's look at the other side of the coin now. So let's look at Montreal's side. So if you're Marc Bergevin and you lose Kotkaniemi, which they were already expecting that to happen, I feel like. I think as soon as they found out that Carolina was going to offer sheet him, that they knew they weren't going to match it at all. So they spend a whole week trying to find a trade that they could do to bring another center in because they've got Nick Suzuki, and that's about it. And I mean, there's really no center depth there for the Montreal Canadiens. So what Montreal did is they turned around and they took a first-round pick and a second-round pick, sent it to Arizona for Christian Dvorak. So Christian Dvorak is 25. He's a little bit more established player. He's got a decent cap hit. I think it's like 4.45. So that's about where they might have been saving money for Kotkaniemi. Maybe a little bit more than they wanted to spend. But what do you think about Marc Bergevin turning around and getting Christian Dvorak?
Yeah, it's a very safe pick compared to what the other one was. So this is what Kotkaniemi could be if you get a decent result. So if you say he develops decently, he turns into a Christian Dvorak, and Montreal just gets that now. And everyone's talking about like he's like way older. He's not. He's 25.
He's 4 years older. That's it. He's
Yeah.
not that much older.
So I don't know why everyone's super concerned about that. Like, I wouldn't be. But anyway, he's had a couple of really good seasons. This last season, he quietly was a lot better, actually, if you look at games played as well. He had, let me see here. So 2017, he had 37 points. 2018, 2019, he only played 20 games. 2019, 2020, he had 38. And then this past year, the shortened year, remember, so he only played 56 games. He got 31 points. So he almost matches his point total with 33% less games.
And he would have been a 20-goal scorer. I mean,
Yes.
surely, if he had played 25 more games, he would have definitely gotten 3 more goals. He would have been a 20-goal scorer, maybe
Exactly.
25.
Exactly.
So
So this guy's already really good.
right,
Whereas Kotkaniemi could be super duper good.
right,
It doesn't
and
look like Dvorak can be as good as Kotkaniemi could be, but Dvorak's already there as well.
right, and that's kind of that's kind of the apples to oranges kind of question.
Exactly.
And obviously, Mark Bergevin thought that this was a better deal. So who do you think? And it's hard to declare a winner right now. It's almost kind of like a trade. But who wins the quote unquote trade offer sheet thing? Does Carolina win it, or do you think Montreal wins it right now? If you had to call it right now,
Right now, Montreal wins. Yeah. So
I agree.
This next season, they have more free cap space. They got Christian Dvorak, who is, in my opinion, better than Kotkaniemi is right now. Kotkaniemi could prove me wrong this season, and hopefully he does since he's making $6 million. But we'll see. But long term, it's Carolina. But the big question mark is Kotkaniemi. Can he be that good?
Well, here's the thing: is short term, Montreal wins.
Yeah, no doubt.
Long term, we don't know.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could be Carolina in the end, and maybe Kotkaniemi turns into a Teravainen or a Sebastian Aho or whatever, and
that's the thing
ends up
is-
being that good.
Is last year he showed that he really could be. Like, it's not like
Right.
us seeing Jason Robertson being like, oh, he could be Teravainen. Like, no, Kotkaniemi is like next year he could step into that role. So he's on the cusp right now.
Agreed. And the only thing that is slightly concerning if you're a Montreal Canadiens fan is the fact that his plus minus was a minus 11. And I know you hate that number, Chris. But,
So stupid.
But to throw that out the window, because I heard arguments about it, and I'm like, okay, first off, it's Arizona, okay? Arizona, the team sucks. I'm sorry. I
worst
love
team.
it's not the worst team, but that belongs to Buffalo.
Well,
But one, it's Arizona, so they're not a good team. And then second, in a defensive structure in Montreal, that will improve. I believe. And obviously Mark Bergevin believes that too. Now, will that affect his points? Maybe, because he was kind of being relied on more in Arizona than he probably will be in Montreal. He'll still be a second-line center in Montreal. But there's other guys like Caulfield and Suzuki that can score points. So we'll see. We'll see. That's just an interesting storyline to look at the beginning of the season. And shoot, who knows? Maybe Kotkaniemi scores 40 goals. Who knows? So, okay. That does it for pretty much all the news of the week. Other than the fact that we want to talk about what we already mentioned, which was that the NHL, NHLPA, IIHF, and the IOC announced a partnership that NHL players will be going to the 2022 Olympics held in Beijing. So what we want to kind of look at is what are some of the players on the Stars roster that might be a part of their country's Olympic team. So, Chris, you want to go ahead and maybe mention one or two, maybe, who you think might make the Olympic roster?
Yeah, pretty much all the Finns. So all four of them: Roope Hintz, Miro Heiskanen, Esa Lindell, and Yanni Hakanpää, the new guy.
Mm-hmm.
They're all going to be on the Finnish team.
I'm not so sure about Hakanpää for me per se. I know he's a big dude, so he may just get on there strictly just because he's a big dude. But Rope Hintz, he has to be a shoe-in my opinion, based off of how he played last season. And I mean, I watched the
How he's
hockey
gonna
guys.
play this season.
Yeah, this season is going to be a monster year, in my opinion, for Rope Hintz. And the hockey guy, Shannon Scanes on YouTube, apparently thinks so too. He did like a 15. He did like a list of 15 players who are most likely to explode this season, and Rope Hintz was number 1 on that list. So he's expecting that for Rope Hintz, and as are we. Esa Lindell, definitely, I feel like will make the team. Just on his defensive prowess, he has to be on that team. Mira Heiskanen, again, just because on the offensive side of the puck, he can play the power play, he can do the penalty kill, he can play it all. He plays 25 minutes a night.
Maybe that's your 1-2 for Finland.
Go ahead.
That'd be a little weird. Miro Heiskanen,
Yeah,
Esa Lindell,
it'd be
1-2.
yeah. Instead of Klingberg and Esa Lindell, that'd be definitely weird. So for me, I don't know how likely this is. I think there's a possibility to it. But again, based off of the play of this player's, how he did last season, I think he has a shot of making the Team USA, and I think that's Joe Pavelski. I think he has a shot. I don't think he's going to be relied upon in a major offensive role, because obviously you've got, Austin Matthews, you've got the Kachuk brothers, you've got the Hughes brothers as well. Jack and Quinn as well. But I could see with Pavelski at his age being on the second or third line, and maybe even being the captain of a really young Team USA team. And you got to have some of the old guys in there.
If he plays anywhere close to how he played last season, then he's no doubt going to be on the Olympic team. But I just don't see how he's going to keep up with those numbers that he produced last season. We'll see, though. I'd love for that to happen.
Yeah, that would be cool to watch, right? And a lot of people are like, "Hey, what about Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin?" Well, they're both Canadians, and I'm so players. And
Tyler Seguin
Jamie
could if he gets back to the way he was playing before he got hurt.
Exactly, but there's so many questions. There's so many questions. It's less likely. I believe in him less than I do in Rope Hintz having a monster season, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Rope Hintz will have a monster season. I believe that will happen and will be more likely than Tyler Seguin having another monster season. But again, we'll see. Maybe he goes on a tear and he's top 10 in scoring. Who knows? So, but can he do it? Yes, he definitely can.
Oh yeah, he could. He has all the skill to do it. It doesn't look like Jamie Benn can do it anymore.
Yeah, there's and maybe he gets in just as on a defensive role. Maybe he gets thrown in on the fourth line or something. But again, highly unlikely. So, anyways. Joe Pavelski, I think he has a decent shot. If I had to put a percentage on it, I'd put maybe 65, 70%, maybe. So,
wow.
And I know that's high, and I know you think that's crazy, but I think he really does have a chance.
Yeah, I was gonna say 30, just because that's the percentage I'm putting on him having a year close to what he had this year as he did last year.
Well, if he plays it. If the rumors are true and he really does continue to play with Rope Hintz and Jason Robertson, I think that definitely goes up in his likelihood of. I'm not expecting the same season he had last season. That's not happening again.
I just don't think. Honestly, let me just get into this. I don't think he's gonna stay on that line for very long. Honestly, I don't think he's as fast as the other two guys are. I think it's gonna end up being either Hintz goes on the wing and Seguin takes the faceoffs just because Hintz can't do faceoffs, which Hintz has been getting better, but still. Or it could be
he's still not to 50% though.
Or it could be Gurianov gets off of his sophomore slump and plays way better, and he takes that spot on the line. So right. I honestly don't think that Pavelski's going to be there for very long. I think he was good for them during last season just because of how consistent he was, and he was always in the right spot. But I don't think he's going to be on that line for a long time. Hot take of the podcast.
Well, no, that's not really a hot take. That's decent. That makes a lot of sense. What about Alexander Radulov?
Yeah,
I know he was
just because he hasn't played a lot.
Right, he hasn't, and again, this just goes back to all the things we talked about over, right after the season, all the injuries we had and stuff like that. he was still over a point a game during the season in the games
Which
that he
is
played,
stupid.
which is crazy. Because, I mean, how old is he now? Is he 36, 35? I think.
I don't know. He's old.
So he's definitely over the hill at this point, and this is another old guy who could play for the Russians, and play. I don't know. I wouldn't expect him to play on a line with Ovechkin or anything, but he could be another guy who could be veteran leadership on a really good Russian team. Meh.
I don't think so, but I hope so. He showed the past couple of seasons that he has played with the Stars. He just doesn't have that consistency. So whenever he's really into a game, he can be explosive and he can be one of the best players in the league. But
And he can get himself into a lot of trouble with penalties too.
yeah, but you just don't get that every night, and you get all those penalties that you have to deal with. It's a mixed bag. He's 35, by the way.
He is 35.
So
okay,
he's younger than Suter.
He is. Was that a shot, Christian Chambers? I think that was a shot.
Yes, it was.
I'm gonna laugh at you so hard if when Ryan Suter comes in and he's probably he's even more steady than Esa Lindell. Talk about that hot take right there. That's a hot take. We'll go with that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways. All right. Let's get to the big main main questions of the evening. 5 questions facing the Dallas Stars, according to NHL.com. And, of course, like everybody expected it to be, what is the very first question, Christian?
Goalie.
The question, how will the goalie situation work? And they're looking at it as Ben Bishop will likely be healthy. But the way we have talked and the way that we understand it as Stars fans, that doesn't seem to be the case, that he's going to be healthy to start the season. So if we look, it is crowded if he is healthy. If he is healthy, it is very crowded. So it's really a battle between Anton Khudobin, Jake Ottinger, Braden Holtby. All right? Who is it? Is it a tandem? Is it a starter and a backup? Is it a 1A, 1B? What is it, Chris?
Well, it's definitely going to be some combination of a tandem. So I don't think you'll come out of the season with someone as a confirmed starter or anything like that. I also think Ben Bishop is not healthy to start the season. I think he could be healthy about halfway through the season. So I think a Braden Holtby contract that he signed, that's worth half a season of decent hockey, in my opinion, since he's just a one year contract. So I think Ben Bishop is still not fully recovered, but he will be eventually. And then it's just up in the air if he can still be a Vezina goalie after that. But that's a bridge to cross when we get to it. What it should be is Jake Ottinger and Braden Holtby, and we should have traded Anton Khudobin yesterday. And I've said this so many times, and I'm sorry that I keep bringing it up, and I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but my opinion has not changed. There's no reason to have Anton Khudobin still on the roster. If we get him off, we can get another really good depth guy, another high-scoring third liner like we've always talked about that we need throughout the offseason. We need more scoring on the third line. Well, you got $4 million on Anton, who honestly shouldn't be there. So it still frustrates me. I don't like that we have so much money pent up in goalies, and 2 of them aren't really that good, being Anton and Holtby. But, I mean, Anton was great last year. Or not last year, but the year before in the playoffs.
He was average this year.
But last year he showed that he can't be your number one guy by himself.
Right.
We tried at the beginning of the season and it didn't work.
And Ottinger had to jump in more than we wanted him to.
Exactly. And he showed that he could be the number one guy. So either take your risk and put your redshirt freshman quarterback in, or get rid of one of the two. I don't want to see Khudobin Holtby being the tandem. That would frustrate me to high heaven. So
I think that's going to happen. I really do. I think that's what's going to happen.
Will be so angry that even when the game starts, I won't just be excited for hockey. It'll be 90% excitement for hockey and 10% frustration.
Already before the season
Before
even
the game
starts.
start, yes, I will already be frustrated. And after the first game, I'll bring it up, even if we blow them out 6-1.
And again, I'm going to say this again because it continues to be an issue with Dallas Stars Twitter, Dallas Stars Facebook groups, whatever. I am scared to put Ottinger in if he's not ready. I saw what happened to Hold on. I understand it. But I am scared to put him in because of what I saw happen to Carter Hart. Okay? Carter Hart, legitly sucked this year. And yes, they could probably argue it that it was their decor or whatever. But on the flip side, he was given the reins to the net too early, in my opinion. I mean, all of the goalies that we've had in the past, if we ever had somebody come in like that, it was never just immediately given to them at a young age. Even Marty Turco. Marty Turco was not 21, 22 when he was given the reins to the holy heaven of the net. Okay, he was not given that. It was after Belfour left, and he was the backup to Belfour for a couple years, and then he took the starting job, and that is what happened. So, and then the same thing with Mike Smith. If Marty Turco had moved on, Mike Smith would have been a more than capable number one goaltender for the Stars if Marty had moved on, but that didn't happen. So I know, and Josh is gonna listen and be like, Ryan, shut up! You don't know what you're talking about.
I'm gonna be like that in a second.
And then I also want to point out, and I watched a career video of Felix Potvin of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the only good years he had was his rookie season, and I think like his third or fourth season, and then like his 10th season. He only had 3 good years, and I don't want to see that for Jake Ottinger. I want him to be a bona fide number one goalie that we could look back on and smile at like we do Marty Turco nowadays. So that's what I want to see, and that's why I'm scared to just throw him in the net. If he comes into camp and he's just freaking lights out and he just plays Holtby and Hudobin out of the water, give him the reins to the net. But I just don't see it at this point, and I would be scared to throw him in the net. Go ahead. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I understand being concerned about like just giving him the reins to the net, but you're not doing that if you play him right now. You have 2 guys who have been in the NHL for a very long time who are good enough to keep us in a playoff spot, even if Ottinger is terrible and needs to go back to the AHL that instance.
Well, but obviously that's not the case because Holtby sucked it up. And again,
but they
behind a bad decor. But he hasn't had good numbers since he won the Cup. And that was in 2018.
Okay, but he's been on terrible teams since then.
Again, that's true.
Anyway, if Hudobin played the whole season and we had Sagan and Radulov and all those guys back and healthy, we would have still made the playoffs. Do you disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree with that.
Exactly. So either way, even as Ottinger is terrible, we still win enough games to keep us in the playoffs with either Hudobin or Holtby, in my opinion. I think Holtby would be better because he's a proven starter before, unlike Hudobin, who still has that question mark on him.
Okay, I can get behind that. I understand
so
that.
That's your safety net. So you give Ottinger the chance, you give him the chance because his stats are stupid. To not give him a chance, to put him in the AHL with stats of 2.36 goals against average and 911 save percentage in 29 games in the NHL. It's not like he played 8 games and was really good those 8 games. He played 30 games almost. And
it's still only 30 games.
And
it's
not under 2. It was under 2.5.
You're gonna throw this. You're gonna throw.
You're not throwing him. You have a net underneath him.
I know, but I understand that.
But he's throwing him the reins. You're not.
Even if he's a tandem goaltender, he's gonna be playing 40 to 45-ish games this season.
And he showed
and that is more.
Fine. And if he doesn't do it, then we just put the other guy in the full time. It's not that hard.
But the thing is that if you're Jim Nill, you don't want to see Ottinger being the backup. You want to see him playing.
Yeah, so you give him the chance to be the starter guy that he can be, and if he can't do it, then he's either the backup or you drop him to the AHL. You can go grab another backup, grab a Tim Thomas. Who cares? But
you're gonna bring Tim Thomas back into the conversation.
Well, we did that before.
Once for like a period of time, and his mask did not go with anything the Stars wore.
But But that was
Anyway,
the point.
sorry. Go ahead.
You had a good enough goalie who could be the backup, and we could do that. But to put him in the AHL with stats that he had, like that's not going to be helpful to him. That's going to be demoralizing. To play a whole year in the NHL, play extremely well, and then just go back to the AHL, keep grinding. You're not going to be able to do that.
I agree. I agree. From his point of view, that wouldn't be fair for him.
It would suck.
Yes.
It would be awful. He'd get paid less. It's not a good idea. You're not throwing him to the fishes, so you're wrong. He's got a safety net underneath him. He's got someone telling him where to go, and if he ends up not being the guy, then we can just do what we would do at the beginning of this season. If he's really not good enough, then you put him in the AHL, and we're still going to make the playoffs because we have a great team.
And again, that's probably true.
And that's not what's going to happen. Anger's going to be great. He's got a great defense. He's a great goalie. He's huge.
Golly, 6'5", is freaking huge.
There's no reason not to do it. There's really not. I know you're trying to justify it to make yourself feel better, but it's a terrible decision.
I'm just trying to make sense of this Braden Holtby signing.
It's
I don't
stupid.
get it.
It's
I don't
terrible.
get it. I mean, there are so many better options out there. I mean, I would have loved to see him go after it would have been more expensive, but like a Freddie Anderson or even a Peter Mrazek. Peter Mrazek didn't sign for a ton of money. I think he did sign for 3.5. Yes, that's $1 million more than. How much did Holtby sign for? Did he 2?
I think so.
Okay, so that's significantly less. Okay, so never mind. But still, I just there's so many questions.
To sign Holtby
so
and
many
then
questions.
Keep Hudobin.
You're right, and honestly, if I'm Dallas, I would rather see Hudobin than Holtby because we have no idea how Holtby is gonna do.
I would agree with that.
At least
if
we
you already
know.
signed Holtby, then something's got to get. You can't trade Holtby now that you signed him.
I mean,
So-
here's my thing. I think that we will see Ottinger no matter what in the NHL this season, regardless of what happens.
better.
So
If he
I
starts
think
in the AHL, that's already a travesty.
I think he will start in the AHL, and I don't agree with it, but I think he will start in the AHL, and I think it'll be Holtby and Hudobin, obviously with Bishop on LTIR, and I think we might see him halfway through the season. I think he's just going to be playing too great in the AHL, and it's going to be just boring to him that he's just going to absolutely obliterate the competition in the NHL.
I don't think he
The
would. I think he's
AHL.
going to get smothered in the AHL. He's going to be so demoralized. He's going to be making less money. He's
Nah,
just going to be pissed off.
No, that's exactly my point. He's going to be ticked off. He's going to be pissed off. So he's going to sit there and
want to play for the Dallas Stars. He wants to play for someone else after that.
Okay, now
If you show
you're
that-
grasping too many straws.
That is not grasping. Are you kidding me?
He's
You
not
have-
going to do that.
You have
He's not going to do
9/11
that.
save percentage, under 250 goals against, and they say go back to the AHL. I would demand
I'm not
a trade. I
saying-
want to play in the NHL.
No, I'm not saying that he's not going to be demoralized and he's not going to be upset, but I don't think he's going to request a trade and say, "Oh, I'm getting out of here." Because both
Millions of
both of
dollars
those
and the chance to play and
Holtby
live out
will
your
be
dream.
Holtby will be gone next year no matter what. So they're not
doesn't
re-signing him.
He
Period.
doesn't need to wait a year.
So, anyways, let's get off of that because we're getting late. We haven't even hit the other 4 questions. We probably need to do another episode on the goaltending situation.
We've done so many. It
I
just
know,
pisses me
it seems
off.
like-
I
it's
hate
like-
that you're wrong, and it's annoying.
We've done like what 2? No, 3. I think this is our
3
third.
or 4.
We talked about Ottinger as a number 1 goalie. We talked about. I mean, this is like the 3rd or 4th time we've talked about this.
I'm
but-
tired of it too. I hate
Yeah,
it.
I am too, because I don't see what's gonna happen. I have no idea what's gonna happen. Okay. Anyways, I clicked off. Oh, there it is. I clicked off the link. Okay. So, second question. How effective will Ryan Suter be? Christian, what's your answer?
He'll be less effective than Alexiak was, but he'll still be
Effective
decent,
enough.
and he'll still be fine. Yeah, he'll be good enough. He'll be good enough to play next to Miro, hopefully. And if he's better than that, if he's even close to how good Alexiak was, then it'll be a great signing and will be extremely good.
So he signed a 4-year contract with the Stars on July 28th, and we all know that it was with a no movement clause, which we disagreed with, but we understand because that was probably one of the stipulations for him signing with the Stars. But the good thing about him is that he scored 19 points last season, and he was still averaging 22 minutes a game. So let's just say that Essa Lindell goes down or something crazy like that happens, and one of our big three go down. He is more than capable of picking up some of the slack from one of those three guys if it goes down. So that's a huge security blanket, in my opinion. You got to have guys playing on defense.
That is a true upside that I haven't thought about. You know, if Lindell goes down, I wouldn't really be comfortable with Alexiak filling that role.
Exactly.
So, but I'm more comfortable with Suter filling that role. So that's very true. I like that point.
And I think Suter, I don't think he's going to be counted on to be. I mean, he might play on the power play, maybe, but I doubt it. But he will. I'm hoping that he will focus on the penalty kill side because we really need some help in the penalty kill. We'll talk about that in a second. But to make a long-winded answer short, I think he will be effective enough on the more effective on the defensive side of the puck than Jamie Alexiak was, in my opinion. What do you think? Offensively, no.
I think he'll be slightly less effective just because he's not a big body anymore.
I mean, he's 10 years older.
Yeah.
He is 10 years older, so.
Yeah, and Alexiak was just such a good protection for Miro, but I think it'll be a little bit worse, but I don't think it'll be terrible.
And it looks like he's going to slot in next to Miro Heiskanen, which I think that will allow Miro Heiskanen to do Miro Heiskanen-y things. More that we saw his first year than we saw his second and third year. So I think that'll allow him to kind of push the envelope a little bit on the offensive side of the puck. So I'm excited for that. I will say that. Okay, third question. And what's kind of funny about this third question is that it was sort of kind of answered by Mike Heika in one of his latest articles. Are Tyler Seguin and Alexander Radulov fully healthy? What do you think?
Yes, they are. But the bigger question is how good will they be after their long recoveries?
I agree, 100%. That was my thought.
So,
it's hard, right? It's such a hard because that's the hard question to answer.
With James bringing up the game-winning goals stat for these two guys, how these are 1 and 2 game-winning goal scorers, and if they can be that again, we're gonna win a lot of hockey games. We lost a lot of overtime games last year, if y'all remember.
And one-goal games. And one-goal
games. So if you have clutch guys like Seguin and Radulov, and they're still clutch and they still fill that role, we're gonna win way more hockey games. If they can be the same as they were before they got injured, we're gonna be an amazing hockey team. If they can be 85 to 90% of what they were, we're still gonna be really good. But one of the two is gonna drop off. And I hope it's Radulov because he already wasn't as good as Seguin, but at least one of the two is going to drop off.
I just love Radulov so much because he kind of filled that role that Antoine Roussel did. Antoine Roussel was always the emotional guy out there, always. Whenever he scored a big goal or, he was in a big fight, he was always emotionally pumped up. And that's what Radulov is for this team. So I really think this is his last season with the Stars. This is his last he's in the final year of his contract. But I really would love to see them go out on a bang. I mean, him and Pavelski both. But I really believe that Tyler Seguin is fully healthy, to answer that part of the
absolutely.
question. Radulov, I'm less so because core muscle surgery is. I'm not going to bother you with the medical mumbo jumbo and all that sort of stuff. But this is not. It's a very serious thing and it hurts like crap. So yeah, it's someone said it's kind of like having appendicitis but multiplied times 10 for a muscle. So I don't know what appendicitis feels like, but I know it's very painful. So
sounds bad.
That makes me a little bit scared for Radulov, but I think they will both bounce back, obviously, because whatever they do, whatever they give, will be better than what they did last year, just because they'll be around more. So we'll see how that goes with those two guys. Okay, number 4. Where will forwards Rope Hintz and Jason Robertson play? And I already answered this question, so I'll let you go, Chris.
Yeah, this is the exciting question. So Robertson, I will say I have no idea. Rope Hintz is going to be amazing. He's going to be one of the best forwards in the NHL. I just feel it in. I
very
feel it
excited.
In my bones.
Yeah,
I'm way overhype on him, but who cares? I think he's going to be crazy good, and I think he's going to beat Sagan for the starting center role. Well, technically he already has. Like, they're not going to break up that line, but whatever. You know what I'm saying.
We'll just have two really good scoring lines.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Robertson is going to be good. So he's going to be on the stars the whole season. He's not going to have a terrible drop off or anything like that. But it's going to be, is he going to keep scoring the way he was before, or is he going to kind of fall into a Foxa-like role and just be consistent two-way guy? Because he did show that he already possessed that defensive skill last season too,
and we saw that before he went on a tear. Yeah,
exactly, and that's why I'm confident that he's going to be on our team no matter what. But it just the scoring is just where the question mark is. So either way, they're both going to be really helpful for our team. Roope Hintz is going to score. Roope Hintz is going to score goals. That's already confirmed. But if Jason Robertson can keep scoring points, that's going to be huge. That's going to be your third line scoring guy that you were hoping for us to pick up this offseason. That would be Robertson if he pans out like we hope he does.
They will definitely play together. You have any doubt of that?
No. Yeah, they'll definitely play together.
So the question really is who's on the other side?
I wasn't saying Robertson would be the third liner. I'm saying like.
Oh, I understand what you're
Points-wise.
saying.
Okay.
Right? Yeah,
Okay.
I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is that because some people have them split up in some of these line combos that I've seen.
At least
there's
to start,
no at least to
at
start.
least to
You
start
got
the
to keep it
season,
together.
It's going to stay together, but most likely everything's going to get shuffled around like it always does.
Well,
so.
because I mean, who knows? I mean, with Radulov being out for so long and Sagan being out for so long, Sagan barely got to play with Robertson. What if Sagan and Robertson are even better than Hintz and Robertson? I mean, imagine that. We don't know. We're just basing it off of what we saw last season and the fact that Sagan we know has chemistry with Radulov, but I mean, who knows? We'll see. I still think that Joe Pavelski will be on that left side to start the season.
Yeah.
I'm 80% positive on that. If Pavelski for some reason can't keep up with that line, or he's just not chipping in like we hope he would, Gurianov better be ready, because he needs. And I
don't think he'll get a shot though. Honestly, I don't think Bones.
You don't think
Gurianov's
really
game enough to give him that shot.
Oh, okay. Now that's something I didn't see you saying.
Well, I've talked about how much Bones doesn't like the young guys all the time.
But even with the emergence of Roope Hintz, he had to put him in. He didn't have a choice.
Yeah, he didn't have a choice.
Same with Robertson. Robertson played too good, and Robertson dared Bonus to push him down, and obviously Bonus is going to be like, and he did, and it didn't work. So
that's why I'm saying. So Gurianov didn't have a great season last year. That's all the reason that Bones needs to not put him on the top line.
Okay,
so.
Here's my hot take. Here's a hot take I guess my second hot take for the episode. Denis Gurianov will lead the Stars in goals this upcoming season.
Nope, not gonna happen.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take if I've ever heard one, right?
I sure hope not, because I hope Roope Hintz is leading goals, assists, points, all that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, good conversation. Okay, and then this is the last one I didn't really think about. This is question number 5. Will the penalty kill be improved? Because at times it seemed like it was really good, and at other times it just seemed like it was really bad. And there almost never seemed to be in between. So they were either up here or down here. They were never like average, and their average ended up being below league average. So I think they were like 18th or 19th or something like that. So not like suckish, terrible, but not if you're going for the cup this season, that's not where it needs to be.
Yeah.
So
but
will it be improved?
Without a doubt, yes. 3 of our signings make their living on the penalty kill.
Right.
Hakanpää, Suter were both on the first penalty kill groups on their respective teams, and Luke Glendening is just a penalty kill specialist, and he just wins faceoffs and plays lots of short.
And that alone will be tremendous.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
Foxa and
line,
Foxa and Glendening together,
because
they're
winning every face-off.
Holy crap, you are
They're
winning every face-off. I mean, even if you put Sagan and Glendenning, you would be winning most of the face. Ben and Glendenning. I mean, anybody that you put, all of those guys can freaking win face-offs. And we did not have Sagan last year. Obviously Luke Glendening was signed here this season. So I agree with you. I think it will be improved. How good will it be? I don't know. I don't
really
think
be top 10, in my opinion.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
With the people that we have, we should finish top 10.
I don't think it'll be top 5. I think that might be pushing it a little bit, but I definitely agree that if we're gonna be a formidable opponent and really push for the Stanley Cup, it's got to be top 10, because you win and lose in the playoffs based off of your special teams, and man, I don't know how I don't know. I really don't.
I'm gonna add another segment before we get to our final hockey segment. Like I said, the preseason last year, how we would miss Sagan a lot on faceoffs and how to look for that to be kind of a quiet thing that messes us up during the season. It's going to be the exact opposite this year. Faceoffs are going to be our strong suit. We should honestly be top 5 in faceoffs, top 3 in faceoffs this season. And that could be huge for your power play, your penalty kill, your scoring, all that. So I think faceoffs are way more important than most hockey analysts and statisticians give it credit for, just because you're getting the puck so much more often when you're winning faceoffs. I think it's way more important than people give it credit for, and I think that's going to change a lot about how we play, and we're going to be having the puck a lot more than we used to. We're going to be getting in the zone a lot easier because we're just going to win faceoffs in the zone.
It's all about puck possession in this league nowadays. If you control the puck, you control your own destiny, and that's why I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, Glendening, what the heck?" But the fact that we have Sagan, we have Ben, we have Foxa, Hintz is getting better, and now we have Glendening. All 5 of those guys can take faceoffs, and then we've got other multiple guys that can take the faceoffs as well. So, and with the signing of Glendening, that losing Jason Dickinson doesn't hurt as much, in my opinion.
Glendening is just Dickinson, but better.
Well, Glendening, I think he's about the same as Dickinson. He's just older. Dickinson is only 26. Glendening's 32. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, all right. I think we answered all 5 of the questions decently, right? I think we did. We disagree a little bit on the first one, but we were good on the other 4, right? Okay.
Well, you're wrong on the first one.
Chris is still giving me a dirty look. Okay. Anyways, so we got some questions that we want to answer from our social media guys. Some of them, most of them are Dallas Stars related. There's one that's not, and I don't even know if you've seen it. Have you seen Shang-Chi yet?
No, I haven't.
You haven't seen it? Oh, you're missing out. Okay. So, anyways, we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and answer that question first, because since you haven't seen it, we'll just shove that out of the way. Okay, so at SoonerFan432, is Shang-Chi the most fun Marvel movie since Guardians of the Galaxy 1? And I'm going to go ahead and answer yes. It was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I know. It was that good, Chris. I promise you. And it was my biggest thing coming out of that movie with Shang-Chi was how different it was compared to the other Marvel movies that they've done. It was absolutely fantastic. Culturally, it was very well done. They added in all the things. And I won't ruin any kind of spoilers or anything for you, but if you have not seen the movie, you are doing yourself a very large disservice. So go and watch the movie. Disney did it again, and it's starting this next phase of building up another big Thanos type character. So I'm really excited to see where Marvel goes with this. So, Chris, yeah,
good. Haven't watched it. I'm sure it's great though.
You'll love it. Okay, so all right, at Nikki Yeehaw 18. I love the yeehaw in the middle of that. Looking at how many players we have coming back from injury, what are the expectations for this season moving into it? Are we going to be a harder team to play? Why don't you answer the second question first? So, are we going to be a harder team to play?
We're no doubt a harder team to play.
Okay, so all right, now so then with that in mind, what are the expectations for this team then? Cup or bust?
It's pretty much cup or bust.
Or
But
is that just us and hardcore Stars fans saying that?
it's mostly just Stars fans saying that. But I think I think this team really does need a deeper look than most people will give it, though. To be honest, just looking at the young guys who their points don't look that great, it looks like, oh hey, Hintz had a pretty good year, but like we know the deeper story that he was injured all year, was in and out of the lineup. He could have had a phenomenal year, and other people just won't look that deep into it. And with Sagan and Radulov coming back, it's a huge question mark. But if you win on that, that's
One of the two.
on one of
One
just
of the
one.
two.
That's crazy big. That's another 5 teams you're gonna beat. And then the goalie situation, which is the hugest question mark, which is terrifying.
There's 4 darts. One of them has to hit, right? One of them has to hit.
It doesn't look like it right now. It looks like
And-
we have 3 darts, and one of the darts is sitting on the bench, and 2 of the other darts are so old that the little fin thingies are like falling apart and stuff. And the other dart, we're just not picking it up. We're just gonna leave it on the side. So we're just gonna throw the 2 old
Don't
darts,
touch.
and they're just
Don't touch. Who's that dart off to the side?
Who do you think? It's Ottinger. Yeah, he's just gonna stay on the side.
And that's the shiny
He
new
needs
one.
to
That's why you don't
develop
wanna
a little
touch
bit
it.
More. Yeah, he just needs to develop a little bit more in the lower dart leagues.
The lower dart leads. All
But
right.
yeah, but if that works out too, then we are the best team in the league, in my opinion. Like, I know those are huge question marks, but like,
yeah.
if they work, we're the best team in the league, in my opinion. Like, I don't know who can beat us, but I know it's a huge
I
question
just
mark,
don't-
but
I don't
I'm
think
hopeful.
this team is built for the regular season. Okay, I believe that they build themselves off of momentum, playing the same opponent multiple times over a course of a week.
That's every
So,
team in hockey, though, pretty much.
No, that's not true, because when you look at, Pittsburgh. Okay, look at
Well,
Pittsburgh.
like the only way
Look
you
at
win
Washington.
the cup is what I'm saying is that the only way you win the cup is you kind of have to get hot, unless you're the Lightning and you're just way better than
Just
everybody else
that
by
good, yeah.
$15 million.
Yeah. Okay, that's true. But Pittsburgh, they have a great team. Regular season, they got first in their division when I was even expecting them to not make the playoffs. But the past 3 seasons, they've been out in the first round.
Yeah,
Same
but
thing
no-
with Washington. Ever
but
since
no
they
one-
won the cup, they've been out in the first round.
And they haven't gotten hot going into the playoffs, though. Like, if the Pittsburgh team last year got hot going into the playoffs, or their goalie started playing really well, they would have gone deep. Like, without a doubt. That's just the way hockey goes. You just have to kind of
Hashtag St.
figure
Louis
out how to get
Blues.
hot going into the last games. And you're right. Teams that are built for playoffs you give yourself more time to do that because you can beat the first round team pretty handily, like the Islanders do every year, and then you're most likely going to win the second round too, and you can
Because
use
they
that
are
time
built for
to
the
get
playoffs.
hot. Yes,
Mhm.
so it's a little bit easier to get hot going to the playoffs, but to get past the conference finals,
That's
you have
hard.
to be
That is
playing your
hard.
best, and you have to be a team built for the playoffs. And
Right.
the Islanders prove that. I don't think the Islanders have played their best in the playoffs yet in 2 seasons.
Oh, really? Okay, that's
Yeah.
scary.
Oh,
'Cause
no,
they
I don't
almo-
think
they-
have.
They gave a way larger run for Tampa Bay's money than Montreal did, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
but
I
I
mean,
don't think
they could
were-
have eliminated them.
I don't think they were hot. I thought they were playing good and they were playing their game plan.
So they
but
just didn't have enough momentum.
But they didn't have one player who was just like, boom, so much better than everybody and just scoring every night. They didn't have that.
Yeah, they didn't.
And if they get that, or they get if they get their goaltender to shut people down the way Vasilevsky did, I think they win the cup, no doubt. But that just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So you just got to get hot, and I think you're
Hope
right.
for the
This team
best.
has a better chance to get hot into the playoffs than other teams, but still.
Yep. So expectations wise, you got to make at least the second round. For a casual non huge Stars fan, you got to make the second round. For me, the way this team is built right now, this is it. This is cup or bust. As a podcaster looking at this team, look at the way we're built. We've got all the pieces in place. The only thing that's kind of an issue for me is goaltending, and we have 4 darts. One of them has to hit. One of them.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
the
my
reason
main
that
thing.
is for the other people who aren't super aware with the contracts. After this year, Pavelski's gone, and
Radulov's
Radulov
gone.
is gone. It isn't.
Klingberg is gone if he doesn't
Klingberg-
get re-signed.
Klingberg's going to get re-signed, but it's going to be for a lot of money, I think. And and then
That's
doesn't
another-
Bishop's contract run out the year after that?
I think, yeah. And a lot of these guys are going to be gone.
So you're getting to the end of the rope on that this team that we built around Ben and Sagan still.
Mhm.
And like we've said before, it's not going to be we're not going to be terrible. Like even when this year's over, we still should be making the playoffs, but it's not going to be it's going to take something else. It's going to take Robertson playing really well or something like that. But that's kind of why we're saying this is the last chance with this group of guys. It's the last chance with the Ben Sagan, Pavelski, Radulov built team.
Mhm. All right, let's finish up some of these questions because we still got about 2 or 3 more. So
Whoops.
yeah, it's all right. It's all right. We're getting late, but it's okay. We're here. Okay, so at P9 Triet, I think it's supposed to be at Patriot with a 9. Who gets the most goals this season? And I already answered it, so I think it's Gary Onoff. Who do you think it is?
I think it's Rope Hintz. I honestly believe that he's going to be one of the best players in the National Hockey League this year. Just
80 to 90
think
points?
He could be crazy. I think 80 points is what I'm predicting.
Predicting, okay.
Yeah, that's my prediction, not even my hope. My hope is that he beats McDavid, and I think he could. I think he
there's
could.
no way that's happening.
My prediction is
I know my hot take. My hot take of Gary Onoff leading the Stars and scoring is more likely to happen than Rope Hintz beating
I
out
will
Connor
accept
McDavid.
that. I will accept
There's not
That
a
is
chance there. Okay, and then this Patriot also asked, do you think Klinger fights again this season? Would you love to see John Klinger?
I don't want to see John Klingberg.
I want to see it. I want to see it. At least one. Come on.
I don't want to see.
All right,
I
want to see.
fucking fight.
Oh,
That's what I wanna
that's gonna be fun because he can definitely spar with the best of them. Can you imagine first game against Seattle and it's Alexiak and Hakanpää?
That would be so.
Oh,
cool.
that would be so fun.
I would pay money just to watch that.
Yeah, ding 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 ding. Go ahead, go with the bets on that. Who would win that? Hakanpää, I think, is heavier.
Nah, Alexiak still wins it.
You still think Alexiak wins it? Okay. All right. Okay.
I'm still fanboying.
Okay, so and then this is a big question, and you've kind of already hit on it, so we'll kind of very briefly mention it again. But at D Butler 3856, with the new core coming up sooner rather than later, should the Stars just write out the contracts of Ben and Sagan and see if they want to stay cheap at the end, or do you try and trade them? What are the possible ramifications of both options? That's a big question.
Well, you're likely not going to be able to trade them.
Not if their cap hits.
Yeah, not their cap hits. And the only thing I could think that you could possibly trade is maybe you could trade Jamie Benn to Vancouver, just because that's where he's from. But even that, I don't think is likely. I think the better question is, do we just let their contracts dry up, or do we try to re-sign them?
It's going to be for significantly less, obviously.
For Ben, that's definitely true. For Sagan, I think you could still find someone that would pay him a lot of money.
Depending on how the next couple seasons go.
Depending on his next couple of seasons. But if he plays the same as he's been playing, he can still make $7.5 million from some teams still, in my opinion. So Sagan would be a little bit harder to sign, and it would really depend on what you're trying to do. If whenever Radulov and Pavelski leave, we just get way worse, then at that point you don't try and re-sign them, and you try and build as much as you can around the new guys. But if we're still decent after that, maybe you do try and re-sign them and try and keep the new team going the way it has been. But that's a really good question. I think that could really be answered this year, honestly, just depending on how good Ben and Sagan play. And it's just because we haven't seen Sagan in a while.
Yeah.
And Ben playing
Like
the new center
Sagan,
role. We'll see what
Sagan
happens.
being Sagan. Like even in the bubble playoffs, he wasn't himself
Oh yeah, no,
because he was dealing with the crap that he was dealing with. So we really haven't seen him for years.
almost, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that's scary to think, and you got all these questions coming up in the off season, but we'll see how all this goes. I think we're going to save our Who Cares segment for next week because we're already really late out here tonight. So we're going to go ahead and sign off on this tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. Along with Christian Chambers, I'm Ryan, and this has been Starcastic Remarks, the official Dallas Stars podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network, sponsored by DraftKings. Make sure you use that promo code THPN for a daily little booster. So, Christian, before I throw this off, you got anything else you want to say?
Gigamags beat Colorado.
Thank you guys, and we appreciate y'all listening, and we will catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good evening.